Hi guys, my name is Lizelle. My channel is Lizelle Loves Books, and welcome to another video. For today's video, since it's Mental Health Awareness Month, my book recommendations would be books dealing with mental health awareness. I got the idea for this video because I was inspired from Ohheyitsmichae, Michaela, Caitlin, the Love Librarian, and Tori from Novel Life. I'll have their links down below. Please subscribe to them. They make amazing content. Yeah, so let's get started. The first book, before I get started on the recommendations, I implore you to, before you read these books, to please read the trigger warnings before you read these books. So the first book I'm gonna recommend to you is Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann. In Still Beating, we follow Cora and Dean. Dean is engaged to Cora's sister, so they're about to be family. But one day, Cora goes to a bar and she needs someone to pick her up. Nobody is available to pick her up except Dean. So she calls Dean. But on their way home, they get abducted by a serial killer. So they're held captive. But first I should mention Cora and Dean can't stand each other. They're always bickering and picking fights with each other. Well, it's more so Cora than Dean. But you'll find that out when you read the book. But eventually, through their captivity, they grow closer. And this guy is so evil. And he forces Cora and Dean to do things that they don't want to do. Like very bad things to each other. And they have to do it because they have a gun towards their head. Pointed at their head, so they have to do whatever he says. So they spent 3 months in captivity. And they eventually get out. But when they get out, they suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder. Specifically, Cora. Because the stuff she has to endure is heartbreaking. And the stuff Dean has to watch the serial killer do to Cora is heartbreaking also. So please, I don't want to spoil it, but they do eventually get out. But when they get out, they need each other as a coping mechanism, because they're the only ones who to understand each other. And it's a roller coaster of emotions because they go from enemies to lovers to they go from enemies to acquaintances to lovers at the end, and their journey is a whirlwind, but you want to see these people have their HEA. And they're going to, and it's a beautiful journey. I implore you to read Still Beating by Jennifer Hartmann. It is a beautiful story. The next book I want to recommend to you, book number 2, is The Wrong Heart by Jennifer Hartmann. And in this book, we follow Melody, who's the female lead, and Melody loses her husband tragically on the day of their wedding anniversary because they were out and somebody steals her purse, and Melody's husband tries to chase after the guy who's stolen her purse, but he ends up being hit by a car. And then a year later, Melody decides she can't take it anymore. She tries to commit suicide, but she eventually snaps out of it like, I'm still young. And after that suicide attempt, she she begs the doctor for the contact information for the person who receives her husband's heart. And she writes to this person. She wasn't sure she was gonna get a reply, but she does get a reply, and the reply from that person prompts her to go seek help from a support group, and that support group is called Lifelines. And there she meets our main male character, Parker. She meets him at the support group, and Parker is going through his own stuff, and throughout the book you can see them start to form a friendship because Melody's dad hires a construction worker to work on his house, and that construction worker is Parker. So it's forced proximity because they eventually get to know each other. And if you think you know how the book goes, trust me, you do not. It's not what you expect. You have to read this book. Again, trigger warnings for suicide. Please read the author's note before you read the book. The Wrong Heart by Jennifer Hartmann. It breaks your heart because of what they go through, especially Parker. The third book I want to recommend to you is the Addicted / Calloway sisters. It's actually two series, but they're all in the same world, so I'm gonna count it as one series. In the Addicted series, we follow Lily and Lo. Lily is a sex addict, and Lo he has an alcohol addiction. He loves to drink. And I implore you to read this series because Krista and Becca and Ritchie take you on a journey. You see Lily and Lo go from being codependent and always making excuses for each other to their friends and family to eventually accepting that nobody can pull us out of this except for us, and we're always gonna have this problem, but we can't keep saying like, why me? So it's a journey for them, and it's a really great one to see, so please read the Addicted series. I encourage you to read the Calloway sisters because it follows Daisy. It follows Rose and Daisy. And Rose and Daisy are Lily's sisters, and they have struggles of their own. Rose struggled with OCD, severe OCD, and Daisy suffers from anxiety and panic attacks. And the Calloway sisters are really good. And you see how I encourage you to read the Calloway sisters because you see how the stuff they go through in the Addicted series affects the Calloway sisters, has a domino effect on their family. And I like how Becca and Krista Ritchie does that, because it does affect your family if you have that kind of condition. It does. And I liked how they wrote it. And the friendships and the family and the bonds in this book are amazing. I implore you to read it. I read the books when it came out, as the books came out, and not a lot of people were talking about it, so I'm glad it's time to shine now. The fourth book number 4, I want to recommend is No Tomorrow by CARIAN. It's about Piper and Blue. Piper sees Blue, this homeless guy, like playing his guitar for a couple of days, and she finally gets the courage to talk to him, and eventually they form a friendship, and that friendship gets physical. But when they're in a relationship for a couple months, several months, but one day Blue just goes and leaves without a word of goodbye, and Piper finds out she's pregnant. And one day so it's a secret baby trope. And normally I don't like secret baby trope. I do okay with surprise baby. I'm okay with that. But secret baby's not my thing. But this book is so good. So anyway, Piper hears Blue's voice on the radio. And she eventually tracks him down. But when she sees Blue again, he's still the same person, like drugs and alcohol, and she tells him about their daughter, but she's like, hey, you cannot come into my daughter's life the way you are. You need to make a change. So he eventually goes into rehab, and Blue struggles with bipolar disorder, depression, I think the book said multiple personality disorder. And you see him go on a journey to deal with that. So eventually he can see his daughter, and he does deal with that. But there's some point in the book where he goes on tour and he sees the doctor, but the doctor gave him the wrong medicine. And you see how that badly affects him, because he tries to take his own life. And yeah, you just go on a journey with the Blue, and you can see how getting the right medicine helps you, and getting the wrong type of medicine does not help you. And it's not that person's fault. It's whether you get treated or not. So I implore you to read No Tomorrow by CARIAN. It is a very good book. It documents mental health really well. No Tomorrow by CARIAN. The fifth book I want to recommend to you is by Sara, Cate. It's called Eyes on Me. It's about Garrett and Mia. Garrett and Mia are step-siblings. Garrett is in charge of finding the talent for the club that the club that he co-founded. It's called Salacious Players Club. And one day he gets depressed because he thinks all of his friends have found somebody and he did not. So one day he goes on a camgirl site and he sees Mia, his step-sibling, his step-sister. And this book is about Mia and Garrett's relationship. It's a age gap, step-sibling romance, but you see how throughout the book Garrett suffers through extreme bouts of depression. Caitlin said it in her video. It's bipolar disorder, like a Blue from No Tomorrow. And you can see how how they go through it and how they deal with it differently. But in my opinion, both these books represent it real well. The fifth book I want to recommend to you, and the last book I want to recommend, is of course by Sarah J. Maas. Who am I if I don't recommend a Sarah J. Maas book? So I think Sarah J. Maas does mental health awareness really well. But the book I want to recommend today is A Court of Silver Flames. It's Nesta's story. Nesta is Farrah's sister, and Nesta gets PTSD from the events that happened in the previous book. Like, she has to deal with the death of her father, her guilt. She tries to push everyone away, and she develops a drinking problem, and you see Cassian is the male lead trying to get Nesta to come back from whatever dark place she's at, and it takes a long time for her. Like, the beginning of the book towards the end, it takes a really long time because Nesta struggles with self-worth, and it takes a very long time for her to accept herself and accept her flaws, but eventually she does that, and she comes to like herself, which I find is so good. Her journey was a satisfying one to see, obviously, because a lot of people didn't like Nesta, but Sarah J. Maas has a way of turning your viewpoints around, because the character growth that Nesta goes through is amazing. Anyway, that's it for my recommendation videos. I hope you give these books a shot. If you're struggling with mental health, there is help. The links will be down below in my description box. Please go follow Michaela from Ohheyitsmichae, Kaylin the Love Librarian, and Tori from Novel Life. I'll link their channels down below. The 9 of you that follow me, please consider subscribing to their channel. They make amazing content. Please like and subscribe to my video, and comment down below, and subscribe and like. That will really help my YouTube channel out a lot, and give this video a thumbs up. And I'll probably have more videos like this, because there's a lot more I want to read, but that will be in a future video. Again, please comment, subscribe, and like if you like this video. And comment down below, what are your favorite books about mental health? Thank you. Bye.